This is one of the few places where you can actually talk in person to the people that are building the future of the web.
It's genuinely magical.
You don't have to be a coder. You really do have to present your own talents. I mean, I am not a developer, but my talents have to be in different areas, and that contributes to the project as much as someone who writes a line of code.
And so it was like, 15 lines of code. It was nothing. But it actually changed the way in which people experienced that first few moments inside of WordPress, and it had an impact. Welcome to Impressive Hosting, a podcast about the role hosting plays in shaping the open web. I'm your host, Jesse Friedman. On the show, we go deeper than uptime and dashboards. We talk about hosting as infrastructure, about ownership, independence, and what it takes to build ethical, high-end WordPress hosting that actually serves creators, businesses, and the internet itself. Before we dive in, head to impressive.host. That's where you can comment on episodes, ask follow-up questions, and help shape future conversations. You'll also find links to follow, like, and subscribe wherever you listen. Today we have an awesome cast of folks who are helping us talk about WordCamp US. We have Caroline from Automatic, Megan from Automatic, and Carol from Radiate U, all WordCamp US organizers, talking a little bit about what we're going to get to see and do at WordCamp US in Phoenix this summer. Before I continue, I want to make sure that everyone at home knows that if you're thinking about buying a ticket to WordCamp US, you want to get your tickets now. And if you're listening to this show, you get to take advantage of a coupon that I just got handed. It's WP Cloud, so just spelled out, WPCLOUD, no spaces or anything like that, and that gets you 25% off. So that $100 price tag that we talked about in the last episode just dropped to $75, and there's still benefits that you get beyond just the conference as well. Like you said, Megan, that the students at home also get a year of hosting as well, so they get to actually put a website up for a whole year just for attending a conference. That's really great. Now, at the last episode, we finished off, and I encourage everybody at home to go back and rewind because we covered a ton of stuff about WordCamp US and events planning and talking to agencies and folks. Carol, you had mentioned that one of the best things that hosting companies can do is ask for horror stories from agencies so that they can learn what to avoid, what people are thinking about. But it got me thinking, and I want to know: is there anything in the event space, Megan, that or Caroline, if you have a horror story in that area that we should all hear?
All right. I've got one, but full disclosure, this was not a WordCamp, but we did have an event where there were about 100 people. And as people were returning to their sessions, one of the pipes broke. So it was a sewage pipe. It was outside the room as people were coming back. So pipe was flowing and the hotel didn't quite know what to do. They took a leaf blower to it. So it did teach us how to pivot. So the learning there is we pivoted. We changed the attendee kind of path to a different entrance. We had to adjust some things really quick on the fly. But it certainly taught us how to deal with the unexpected. And it was an experience, that is for sure.
I can't imagine making a situation any better at all by adding a leaf blower to it like that.
How would that help?
There's no way that, not at all. Not at all. But you're right. That probably makes you... It gives you a ton of experience. Now when you put on these events, we talked a little bit about how well they come off and how great they are. And it's only probably through these crazy experiences that you've lived through that you're able to compensate for all the unplanned things.
We always say, as long as people don't see it, it's okay. So we pivot and we work well under pressure and just move quick on our feet when things happen. They always do. So.
All right. So, we talked a little bit about how this is a full-blown, really high-end tech conference with a low price tag. So it's accessible to more people. People get to take advantage of it. But, how many people are we expecting? It's in the thousands, right?
Yep.
We
expect just over 1,000 folks.
Okay, it's great. So if we're thinking about that from a perspective of $100 a ticket, I would imagine that we're not even close to the cost of the event with ticket sales, all the things that go into it and everything. So we have our sponsors to thank, and they get a booth, right? And they bring their business and their brand and their swag. So what is it that you would think that sponsors want to get out of this conference? Obviously, they want to connect with their customer base. They want to sell more of whatever their product is. But when you think back to like what a sponsor says after the event that they wish there was more of or whatever, what would you tell those attendees at home right now that if they want to give it back in a sense, right? Like they got the super low price tag, how can they make the sponsors feel like thank them for putting on this event in terms of the money? How can they thank them? What should they be doing?
Yeah, I would say definitely stopping by their booths. The sponsor hall is open on August 18th and 19th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And sponsors are in there and loads of other things. But I think really engaging, stopping by the sponsor spots. Some of them will have demos. Some is a small, using their product. Getting hands-on with it. I think not only does that give back to the sponsor, but it also gets you the opportunity as an attendee to get hands-on, to ask the hard questions. If you've been working with one of their products, like you have their people in front of you. And that in and of itself is just a huge value to be able to get that often one-on-one conversation and support on a product that you're maybe using already or were thinking about using. Yeah, I would say that's probably one of the biggest things that you could do.
Honestly, to jump off of that a little bit, I think that like WordCamp US, especially all the WordCamps, this is one of the few places where you can actually talk in person to the people that are building the future of the web. So if there's something on your mind and there is something that you want to talk about or you want to compliment or you're having problems with, like this is the place to do it. And that sponsorship hall is going to be the place where you can directly talk to those folks, which I think is pretty cool. It's a real in-person conversation, which is nice,
I was just going to
Absolutely.
piggyback on that and say the same thing, because when you're new to WordPress, you come in and you meet some of these people and they're at the sponsor booth and they may have built the theme that you're using. And if you think about it, you don't get to talk to the people at Microsoft who built Microsoft Word, but you get to talk to the people who built your theme or a plugin or something like that. That kind of real connection, that's really invaluable. And so stopping by the booth isn't just for the sponsor, it's for you to connect and say, oh, I know your name. And in the future, if I have thoughts or questions, these people are very accessible. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, it's a really amazing networking opportunity too. It's
Mhm.
not just
It is.
to connect the corporations and the individual users, but it's also an opportunity for folks to get to know people in their network. If you're looking for a job, it's a great opportunity to find employment. If you're hiring, it's a great opportunity to hire folks. There's so much that
Yep.
goes into it, and I think I double down on everything that you guys said because I do the same thing. When I go to a WordCamp, I put out my calendar. I make sure that people have time to meet with me. I love to hear what's going on, how they're using the product, their horror stories, if as long as it doesn't involve a leaf blower, and other terrible, terrible things. But yeah, no, such a fantastic opportunity to get to know people and to form friendships and relationships and to, you never know what you're going to set up for the future too. Like you end up meeting people and then, all of a sudden you're 2-3 years ahead and you didn't remember that, like, you met this person wherever, but then you go back to this memory of WordCamp US or wherever, and you're like, oh, I formed a relationship with this person and now I can ask them
Right.
to help me out with this thing, or I can get a reference or whatever it might be. So you never know what's going to come of it. But on that note, on the note of networking and the opportunity to form friendships and relationships, it's not all work, right? There is some play involved. So what do we have in terms of like after hour events? What are we going to be doing?
Yeah. So even before we get to after hours, happy to highlight here that we have a new activation in the sponsor hall, which will be a maker's market, if you will. So bringing in different sellers who are using WordPress, selling their goods and services. So that's a fun opportunity to kind of meet some of the small businesses in and around Phoenix, get some goodies to bring home. So you don't have to make that stop in the airport gift shop. We could do that too. And, in the evenings, I think the hotel that was mentioned earlier, there is a hotel block with an incredible rate just a couple blocks away from the convention center. That becomes a natural extension of the hallway track of the conference. And so people are often hanging out in the lobby there, having chats. And I think so much good conversation and networking happens there. We'll also have a page on the WordCamp US website, so definitely keep an eye there for side events. Several companies put together different events in the evenings that are hosted, and you can keep an eye out for those, and there'll be some sign-up instructions. There's also the thank you party, which is on the final evening, August 19th from 7 to 10 p.m., which is a closing party, and, it's a lot of fun. The conference ended, but people continue the conversations. You often hear about and see just all of the connections that were made throughout the week from friends old and new, and really chatting and reflecting on all of the amazing sessions and workshops that were attended throughout the week. And our sponsors are there. Speakers are there. So another opportunity to just learn from one another during the show.
Awesome.
I want to echo the hotel lobby. That's just the party that's not a party. It's where so many people gather. You can't walk through the hotel lobby without seeing someone. And that's where I met Megan last year.
Yeah.
Remember? I hadn't
I sure
met
do.
her. And so we met in the hotel lobby and sat and chatted. So, yeah.
Yep. See, a connection that took us on to a year later. Now we're working
Yes.
together and
Yes.
chatting like literally every day now. So it really is incredible what happened in that hotel lobby.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Are there still, like, if people are thinking about going and they're looking for hotels, are there still rooms available?
Yeah, there
Yeah.
are. The hotel block is still open, but definitely grab your room sooner than later as rooms start selling. So yeah, definitely join us there. There's a satellite registration that happens. So if you want to beat the line, get your swag, get your badge early. And there is also, although just a very short walk, there is a golf cart ride to and from the convention center. So some good perks that pop up by staying with us as well.
I'm local. I only live 20 minutes from downtown, but I'm staying at the hotel because I just wanted that's the full experience of WordCamp, I think. So I would even encourage locals who are seeing this to take advantage of the rate. Here in Phoenix, we always talk about the summer staycations because nice hotels offer a good rate. And so it's a very common thing. Use this as your staycation for those Phoenix locals.
Yeah.
Sure. I think you're right about the hotel lobby. I think one of the things that I notice is that I'm always running into people and seeing people, and I think sometimes I get recognized, and there's a little hesitation from folks to come up and say hello. And I would love to dispel that there's any reason not to do that. Like if you see me at a WordCamp, if you see anybody who's, a speaker or someone who's building something that you're like, you want to talk to them about, they're at that WordCamp, and that expectation comes with the whole thing, is that they're there to talk to folks. So if you're a little bit nervous or whatever, that's okay, but don't let it stop you from reaching out and shaking a hand or introducing yourself or whatever, and I tend to have some of the best conversations in the hotel lobbies in the morning during breakfast. Online, getting some scrambled eggs or something and sitting down like before the whole show begins. Like that's the opportunity to reflect on what happened the day before or what we're excited for that day. And it's an awesome opportunity to get to know people a little bit better. All right. So what's the first day of this? This is a 4-day camp, right? There's a lot going on. Which day is contributor day? Is that the 16th?
A1, yep.
So And so if anybody is listening that isn't familiar with WordPress and what a contributor day is, somebody want to jump in and kind of give us a 2-second intro? Caroline, do it.
Contributor Day? Contributor Day is about
Yeah.
contributing. That people get in the room and they are coding. They are working on WordPress. And I think it's so cool to see. You go into that room and you can almost feel the energy of people like truly contributing to this open source. And it is one of the most, I don't know, Contributor Day happens to be my favorite as well, just because this is where things are really ramping up. Like it's day one, people are in the room and you're actually producing something, which I think is kind of rare for a conference, to be honest. Like you're actually producing something while you're there. And that collaborative, like in-person working, I think that that's like a baseline for what WordPress and open source is all about. Like it is really cool to see. So if you're interested in Contributor Day, I highly recommend coming through for day one.
And I would say you don't have to know how to code to do it. There's a documentation team, there's a community team that works on events like this all throughout the year. So don't let that scare you. There's something for everyone.
Absolutely.
I remember my first contributor day, I was intimidated because you think that you have to be a developer and code, and you create these visions of these people who make WordPress as being so incredibly smart, and they are, but you don't have to be a coder. You really do have to present your own talents. I mean, I am not a developer, but my talents have to be in different areas, and that contributes to the project as much as someone who writes a line of code.
Yeah, and I think, I might romanticize this a bit because for me, I came up in the community. I came up going to camps and other things. And I came up during a time when Jake Goldman was in Rhode Island. He runs, formerly 10 Up, and now it's called Fueled. J-Trip was in Rhode Island. So, John James Jacoby. Nason hung out a lot. So we had like such a really cool local WordPress community, and it was intimidating coming on in a time when you had these like veteran WordPress super smart individuals like Nason. Now I forget exactly his title, but he's like a technological consultant to the White House or something like that.
Those are heavy hitters you mentioned.
Exactly. And so, I felt like maybe at that time, because we're rewinding to like 2012, 2010, something like that, when we were really building the local WordPress community here in Rhode Island. And, it was a little intimidating, but, in hindsight, having all the knowledge and experience that I have now, I would have told my former self to get in there faster. I would have said, get involved faster. You're mentioning that you don't have to be a coder, but also you don't have to be an elite coder either. You don't have to be someone with years of experience and tons of, GitHub contributions or anything like that. And you might be saying to yourself, well, I don't play in the same field, but here's the thing. Everyone in the WordPress community knows that the only way in which we keep everything going, that we preserve what we love about WordPress, is when we get more and more people involved in helping and supporting it. And so the only way to do that is to make people feel comfortable jumping in and supporting the project, whether that's jumping into the Make Slack or on the documentation or going to a WordPress event and learning how to contribute. If you could walk away from a contributor day with just the knowledge of making the tiniest little contribution. When I got my wings, when I think about that, when I got my wings as a actual WordPress contributor, I had made, and from a core code perspective, a very minor change. But what I was trying to do was help the first user experience. So I had made a modification to that first banner you see when you install WordPress so that people knew what to do next. And so it was like, 15 lines of code. It was nothing. But it actually changed the way in which people like experienced that first few moments inside of WordPress, and it had an impact. But what it did for me more than anything else was it shed out that like all that stress around what it is to contribute for the first time. How anytime that someone's going into a situation where they don't know all the variables and how people are going to react and how how it's going to work, you have all this anxiety and all the stress. But if you could just go to contributor day and feel the passion in the room, and feel how fast people invite you to sit down and help contribute. And, you can kind of browse all the opportunities, see what everybody's working on. Even if you're just getting to know people, get used to that room, because then at the next WordCamp you can contribute. And then the next WordCamp you can help somebody else contribute. And then that builds and builds and builds. It snowballs in a way that's a really powerful thing for the entire ecosystem.
Yeah, it's genuinely magical. Like,
Yeah.
I know that
Yeah.
sounds cheesy, but it really is. It's special, and it's really cool to be a part of.
Right.
I love that
Absolutely.
Yeah, for
story.
sure.
I love that story that just 15 lines of code changed the way that people experience something. And I think that's a great metaphor that could be applied to so many different things.
Well, and think about too the fact that you're helping to contribute to software that powers 40+% of the entire internet, right? Something that we all, sometimes we take advantage of, sometimes we understand the importance of, but at the end of the day, the internet is the backbone of so much that we all do in our day-to-day lives, and you're making a contribution to that. And Carol, you mentioned that like a WordCamp is a unique event where you get to actually interact with the people who are building the software that you're using on a regular basis. It's not like if you're a huge fan of Spotify or something, like you don't get to go hang out with a Spotify, developer,
Right.
or, something like that. Or, but in this case, not only do you get to hang out with those folks and learn from them, but you actually get to contribute right alongside them in a project that so much of the internet is using. So you have 15 lines of code, but times what? Times 10 million, times 100 million, however many times WordPress has ever been installed since then that code was involved in. Like it's a huge impact that you end up making across, a backbone of our society. So I do romanticize it a little bit, but it is a big thing. It's no small thing.
It's that cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm remembered of a time at one of the WordCamp USs, I can't remember which one, it may have been San Diego, when a friend of mine and I were sitting at a table and Robbie McCullough comes up and sits down and starts chatting, and I introduce him to my friend, and it's like, oh, you work at Beaver Builder? What do you do? And it's like, well, I built it, and we run Beaver Builder on so many sites. So that kind, and I saw that like connection in the person's face. I was like, oh, wow, you build what we use. So that's kind of fun,
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when, WordPress has this way of helping people to feel special. They build something, they launch it, they get it, they feel accomplished. There's all these moments of delightful happiness. There's frustration, and sometimes you want to punch your monitor and stuff like that too, because there's always learnings and opportunities. But you do have these moments where you're continually delighting the users of WordPress, and then that carries over in those moments when you actually get to meet the people who help make that possible, which is very, very cool. All right, so we covered Contributor Day. The next day is not going into actual workshops and sessions, right? We have an interstitial day where there's a showcase, right? What is going on with the showcase day?
The showcase day is a really fun day. My first showcase day, I was blown away because it's I guess it's subtly different. There's still sessions. You still go and you're sitting side by side with people. But the whole idea of showcase day is that people talk about what they're really doing. And we have 2 sessions lined up this year where we have the developer who led the project presenting alongside the client who had the project built for them. So you actually get to listen to and hear the story of this real thing that was built with WordPress, and you get to hear from both the client and the developer, and or the developing agency rather. And so it's really cool to see, wow, that's in the wild. We could have all these theoretical discussions about different things within WordPress, but the showcase day, you actually get to see what's out there, what's happening, and what people are doing.
Yeah, very cool. I think it's an amazing opportunity to learn a little bit about the behind the scenes as well, right? Like how businesses are running, how they're interacting with clients, and what they're launching, and all the things they get involved in, all that stuff too. Are there also aspects of it that were like product showcasing, like helping people understand what new things are out there and existing in the WordPress space?
Yeah, there's definitely, AI is taking a huge center front role this year, and I would expect nothing less. I mean, that's where we're at. But there's a lot of people who are going to be talking about that. We also have our WordPress AI group that's going to have a real big presence. And I'm not as much up on that. Megan may be able to talk about the core AI team and what they're doing. I've seen chatter of it, so I don't know what. Can you speak more about that?
Yeah, so the core AI team will be on site, many of them in the sponsor hall. They'll have a booth set up where you can go, you can ask questions, you can walk through demos right alongside them. So there will be a post with a lot more information, but they'll be available to literally chat to, pick their brains, workshop with them on the 18th and 19th of the conference.
Very cool. Yeah, AI continues to come up in this show in a way that, it's like what everybody wants to hear about what they're doing. I think it's interesting because I mentioned this before on the show, but I took my sabbatical last year in the fall of 2025, and taking 3 months off in that time range, like it felt like I came back and 5 years had passed in terms of the
That's
technological advancements and all the things that we're using and everything else. So I
I
think at the
bet.
very least, like if you come to a WordCamp and you do nothing else, you'll figure out what everybody else is using, what they're working on, how they're progressing their own tools and building things. And you'll keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on in the industry in a way that you can't, I don't think, at any other conference.
No, there's a lot of truth to that because I have been thinking a lot lately about what my day is like today versus a year ago. Like, what do I do at my job? And it's so incredibly different how I'm doing my job today. And it will be different 6 months from now. And being at a word camp and hearing how other people are doing their jobs and how it's evolving, I think it's actually probably more important now than ever to attend things like WordCamp because we've got to stay on top of this stuff. We thought it was moving fast 5 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
look at us now,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So then we have the showcase day done. Then we have 2 days of sessions and learnings and all that other stuff. Anything that we can, before we this episode ends, anything that's worth highlighting that we're all excited about in terms of speakers or workshops or anything like that?
Well, we've got the 4 tracks. We've got a track for AI, a track called Honing Your Skills, technical WordPress, and then brand new to this event is the Beginning WordPress. And that Beginning WordPress it's going to be very different than the other tracks. We are designing a curriculum that's very specific to a beginning user, and they are going to learn from the ground up. And while they're in the workshop, they will be using WP Playground to build their very first version of their site. And then once that workshop is over, they will be taught how to save their work. And then we're going to have a follow-up session right after that workshop that right now we're calling it office hours. And the office hours is going to have a lot of volunteers and a lot of people where those people who attended the workshop, they don't have to come to office hours. They can go on and do other sessions. But we have a massive room where there will be help to get people to take the site that they just created and to make it live right there. And so they're not going to build a 100-page website with e-commerce in a day, but they can certainly build something that they can put out to the world and can have their website published just from that workshop and office hours. And that's kind of exciting, and it's something we've never done before at WordCamp US.
That is so cool. So if you're a small business owner or someone who's trying to build like a portfolio website or whatever,
Yep.
and you're in the area, or you want to fly in or whatever for $100, well, if you use the WP Cloud coupon that we got, 25% off, so $75, you can go to a WordCamp and you can actually get someone to help you launch your website. So if you're sitting at home right now and you're thinking, I need to build a website, you can carve out 2 days or 4 days and go to WordCamp US, and you'll get through the process of figuring out how to get involved with WordPress, how to install it, how to use it, how to launch a website. And you're right, maybe you don't get into the deep technical details, but you probably push out all the unknowns and the tough parts about getting started. And I mean, what other conference can you do that? Like, I just mentioned how I went to that AI World's Fair, and the idea of being able to go in with very little experience in AI and come out on the other side, like training agents and doing things like that, is unheard of. But here, you know, for almost nothing, you can get your events, you can party at the after party, you can get your food and your coffee and your air conditioning and stay cool, and also get a website launched.
Yeah. And the people who come to the WP Beginner track get free hosting. We have a company that is going to provide them a coupon to get free hosting to launch that site. Yeah, pretty incredible.
Okay. That's amazing. How many people do you think that workshop can actually hold? Like, what kind of urgency is there right now to sign up?
One thing that we've done is we are repeating the workshop twice. So the workshop will be on Showcase Day, and it will also be on day one. So there should be plenty of space. If it looked really full when you walk in the first day, then you can come back the second day. And again, the office hours will be there both days as well. The last day, we are not repeating WP Beginner, but we're going to do WP Intermediate. And so we're designing a curriculum that's very similar, that's going to have the same workshop style, that will dig in a little bit more into what plugins are out there. Now that I've got my basic site up, what can I do with it now? Can I really work on some brand changes and colors? What does this plugin do that lets me do, you know, something that a base website doesn't do? And so you can not just build, but you can also begin taking your site even a little bit higher with the WP 202 class.
Very cool. All right. So we have to break, but Megan and Caroline, I have one last question for you. When we were at WordCamp Asia, the after party was amazing. We were all dancing and having fun. Do you feel like we're gonna have the same energy at this after party?
Oh yeah, I'm expecting dancing. Yeah. I'm expecting dancing.
Nice.
Definitely.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so for folks at home, you know, one more time, use the WP Cloud coupon to get yourself a ticket. Do it now before tickets sell out. And I'll see y'all at Phoenix, and I'll probably be hanging around the Automatic booth, so keep an eye out for me there, and feel free to reach out and shake my hand and introduce yourself if you're there, because that's what I'm there for. So I'm looking forward to seeing y'all, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at home there too. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you. Bring a jacket.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Impressive Hosting, where we uncover the core tenets of great WordPress hosting. Do you have a follow-up question for today's guest, thought or comment on anything we talked about, a future guest suggestion, a hosting horror story? What do you think makes great WordPress hosting? All your comments shape this show. Drop them on impressive.host. We also appreciate you following us on social media and subscribing to the podcast on your favorite platform. Finally, do check out our list of open source projects that need support at impressive.host. Whether it's code, community, or cache, you can make a difference. See you next time.